5 people with real superpowers caught on tape. One story begins with a man clenching a steel rope in his teeth, dragging a 300-ton train behind him without flinching. Another follows a swordmaster who sliced a bullet mid-air, not by sight, but by sensing its path before it arrived. So, before we begin, like, subscribe, and watch closely. Because these are not tricks, and these people are not like the rest of us. And number 2 is something you'd not want to miss.
When was Sir Walter Raleigh executed?
October 29th, 1618.
Kim, what day of the week was that?
It was a Thursday.
December 9th, 1995.
It was a Saturday, and this year it's a Friday.
Yeah.
When's your next Thanksgiving?
God, I love him.
I have so many things in me that you can't even guess.
There was once a man who could read 2 pages simultaneously. His eyes would lock onto the words with the kind of focus few could ever understand. He did not skim or guess. He consumed entire volumes in a matter of minutes, and he remembered nearly everything. If you gave him a telephone book, he would recall the names and numbers within it and recite them back without hesitation. This was not a trick or an act. It was simply the way his mind worked.
Who was the game-winning pitcher of Game 3 in the 1926 World Series?
The Cardinals won with Grover Cleveland Alexander.
They called him Kim Peek. His story began quietly, with a childhood that puzzled doctors and left educators overwhelmed. Though he struggled with basic tasks and daily interactions, his brain carried a storm of information. He read science books and historical records like they were stories meant just for him. He could recall dates, details, maps, and entire pages from memory. And when asked, he would deliver the facts with perfect accuracy.
714. Thank you.
Who were the 4 people on the George Washington cabinet?
Jefferson, Knox, Hamilton, and Randolph.
There you go.
He did not learn the way others did. He had no use for study guides or repetition. Instead, he absorbed. A single glance at a book cover would unlock its contents in his mind. He would sit in libraries for hours, flipping pages faster than anyone thought reasonable. Yet every word stayed with him. People began to notice. Eventually, Hollywood did too.
He reads a page that you and I would read in 3 minutes. It takes him about 8 to 10 seconds. He reads the left page of the left eye, right page of the right eye, and remembers about 98% of it. He has 15 subject areas. When I explain them to people, I try to say about the only thing he can't do, he can't reason out mathematical problems.
When the film Rain Man was released, audiences were introduced to the character of Raymond Babbitt, portrayed with great emotion and depth. What many never realized was that the man behind the role had once walked into a room and stunned researchers with his abilities. He was not fiction. He was real. Kim Peek was not a performer, and he never sought attention. He was a quiet man with a mind that could hold entire encyclopedias without effort.
019 is East Essex, 018 is West Essex.
And what was the area code there, too?
They studied him and praised him, yet no one could fully explain him. His brain had rewired itself in a way that defied logic. Doctors could point to differences in scans, but even they admitted they did not understand what they were seeing. And in that mystery, his legacy remains. Because once you meet a mind like that, ordinary intelligence never feels the same again. His brain defied limits, but the next man bent steel with his jaw.
Come on, this is for Malaysia's 50th birthday, oh, sempena hari kemerdekaan yang ke-50 untuk Malaysia. Malaysia! 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 Rana Krishnan!
On the morning of August 31st, 2007, the dense city air in Kuala Lumpur carried a strange sense of expectation. A long train sat still on the tracks, stretching across several carriages, its total weight reaching nearly 300 tons. In front of it stood a man holding a thick steel rope between his teeth. His name was Radhakrishnan Velu, and to those who had heard of his past feats, he was remembered by another name, King Tooth. He remained silent as officials moved around him, checking measurements and inspecting the rope for any sign of trickery. The crowd gathered behind the barriers did not speak much either. They watched with quiet intensity, trying to understand how a single man planned to move something so enormous without the help of engines or machines. The steel rope did not wrap around his body or arms. It rested entirely in his mouth, clenched between his teeth like the bit of a warhorse. When the signal came, Radhakrishnan leaned forward, drawing the tension tight between himself and the train behind him. For several seconds, there was only stillness, followed by the faintest sound of metal beginning to shift. The first carriage rolled forward with a slow, agonizing groan. Then came the second, followed by the third, each wheel turning with reluctant momentum. The weight should have held him in place. However, his legs pressed forward with steady control. His back muscles tensed, and his jaw remained locked with unnatural force. Moreover, he continued to walk forward as the train followed behind him. There were no breaks in his pace and no signs of hesitation. The train moved several meters before it came to a stop, meeting the distance requirement set by the officials who stood by in awe. There was no support rig used. Only sheer willpower and years of preparation had allowed this to happen. After the train had stopped, the crowd erupted with cheers, though many remained too stunned to speak. The man had turned a fragile part of the body into a force capable of dragging steel. Radhakrishnan later spoke about training under a spiritual teacher who had taught him to master pain and to breathe through pressure. In his eyes, the strength did not come from his teeth alone. It went from an unshakable belief that the body could be made to obey the mind. He pulled a train with his teeth, while the next man ate an airplane.
This man ate a plane.
I think it's fair to say that is a genuine light bulb.
Born in France in 1950, Michel Lotito became better known as Monsieur
Michel Lotito, better known as Monsieur Mange-Tout, became one of the most bizarre cases of human ability ever documented. From 1978 to 1980, he consumed an entire Cessna 150 aircraft, piece by piece, without suffering internal injury. He disassembled the plane into manageable parts, broke down the pieces into smaller fragments, and began the slow process of eating metal, rubber, and glass. Each fragment was washed down with mineral oil and followed by generous amounts of water, which aided both digestion and passage through the body.
Monsieur Mangetout ate 18 bicycles, 15 supermarket trolleys, 6 chandeliers. He ate 2 beds, and he downed a pair of skis. Doctors x-rayed his stomach and said Monsieur Mangetout had a unique ability to consume 2 pounds, that's 900 grams, of metal each day, due to his extra thick stomach lining and strong...
Michel suffered from a condition known as pica, which led him to crave non-food materials. However, his body handled these materials differently. His stomach lining was unusually thick, and his digestive tract was capable of processing substances that would cause injury to most people. This made it possible for him to consume bicycles, televisions, supermarket carts, and eventually a full airplane.
Just amazed and almost couldn't believe that there was someone who could eat this much metal and glass and seemingly have no adverse effect.
I kid you not, these are pieces of metal cut from the car. He's washing it down with some water. Bon appetit, by the way.
Thank you.
The Cessna 150 was a 2-seat trainer aircraft made primarily of aluminum. Lotito began by consuming the windshield and windows, then the fuselage and wings, followed by more complex parts such as the seat cushions, tires, and instrumentation. Even the engine and propeller did not escape him. The process took him 2 full years. He consumed approximately 2 pounds of aircraft parts daily. To those who doubted his efforts, he invited medical professionals to observe him in person.
Cigarettes. And my mobile phone went missing in that shoot, and I thought, has he eaten my phone?
His performances were often held publicly, with doctors verifying his health before and after each demonstration. Throughout his life, he showed no signs of internal bleeding or lasting injury. His weight remained stable, and his physical condition did not deteriorate.
Sadly, Monsieur Mangetout died of natural causes in 2007 at the age of 57.
Lotito never relied on illusions or tricks. However, the airplane was real, and the pieces were also authentic, and his body somehow handled every bite. It was not a question of taste or desire, but rather a pursuit of extremes, documented and verified under medical supervision. Michel Lotito did not just break records. He redefined the limits of what a human body could endure. Some defy limits through what they eat, while others defy them through what their bodies can become. Most people stretch, twist, and bend within the limits of anatomy. Daniel Browning Smith never had those limits. When the cameras rolled and the audience watched, he did what no one else could. Joints dislocated without effort. His torso turned nearly 180 degrees. Arms folded backwards. And he did it all with an eerie calm, like his body had rules of its own. Outside, it looked like a magic trick. Something fake. Something rehearsed. But this was not an illusion. It was Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a rare connective tissue disorder that made his body unusually elastic. Pain was real, risk was constant, and yet Daniel leaned in. He stretched further and pushed more. Crowds gasped as he passed through a tennis racket in seconds. He twisted his limbs into knots and escaped from impossibly tight spaces, making it to television shows, live events, and even Guinness World Records. He turned every moment into a demonstration of human limits shattered. However, it was not just performance. Doctors studied him, experts watched in disbelief. He bent in ways the human body was never meant to move. And each time, he stood back up, unfazed. Daniel did not ask for this condition. He did not fake it. He trained with it, lived with it, and mastered it. He was not just flexible, he was in control. So when people ask how far the body can go, they look at Daniel. Because what he did went beyond talent. It went beyond flexibility. It became something else. Something no one could explain. Even after watching it happen right in front of them. He bent reality with every joint. But the final name could see what others missed in strike before it arrived. Isao Machi once stood in the center of a quiet testing range, gripping his katana with the poise of a master. He was far more than a swordsman. He was a phenomenon from Japan, known worldwide for his terrifying precision and unshakable control. That day, his challenge was to slice a steel pellet flying at over 350 kilometers per hour, a target faster than the human eye could follow. As the pellet launched, it disappeared in a blink. Yet, Machi did not flinch. He did not track it visually, nor did he rely solely on reflex. Instead, he stood grounded, visualizing the pellet's path in his mind. Then, with a blur of movement, he struck, leanly cutting the pellet in mid-air before it could hit the ground. Those watching were stunned. Slow-motion footage confirmed what seemed impossible. He had not just reacted, he had predicted the moment with absolute accuracy. Moreover, this was not an isolated display of skill. In another demonstration, he faced a baseball fired at nearly 500 kilometers per hour. It exploded from the machine like a bullet, too fast for most to catch sight of. However, Machi stepped into motion with perfect timing. His blade flashed once, and the ball split clean through, the halves tumbling to the ground in silence. These feats were not illusions. They were documented, measured, and verified by martial arts experts and scientific observers alike. Machi repeated them over and over, each time with the same ruthless efficiency. His power came not just from years of training, but from mastering the ability to predict rather than respond. Unlike athletes who depended on reflex and reaction, Machi relied on calculation, discipline, and control. He did not wait for his target to arrive. He met it in motion. Even in an era of advanced machines and digital speed, Isao Machi proved that human ability, when honed to a razor's edge, could still defy logic, physics, and every expectation. If those 5 left you questioning what the human body is truly capable of, you are not alone. Which one surprised you the most? Comment below, like, subscribe to the channel because the next one might just defy everything you thought was possible.